everybody. I am so stoked and so honored that I'm probably one of the first people that gets to talk to Casper Steinfath, just returning from an epic journey that we all followed. And I don't even know what the smart questions are to ask after such a big event. What do you ask? So, but we, of course, as viewers, we try to understand is how is something like this possible? How you do that? Like how you go almost 2 months out into the wild like that? But first and foremost, how are you doing, Casper? How is everything right now in this very moment?
Well, hey, thanks, Mike, and it's good to see you again. It's good to talk with you again.
You.
It's been a while, and if I sound kind of like I'm talking in slow motion, it's probably because my mind is working in slow motion after this expedition and this adventure. Right now, I'm just sitting at home in Denmark, in my house in Klitmøller up in cold Hawaii. I'm kind of just regaining like orientation of what's going on, and my body is tired, my shoulders are falling off, and mentally I'm in a very interesting place, but I'm just trying to right now absorb and be present here and now.
So I'm just as a bystander and not, somebody that doesn't know what's going on. And I told my wife yesterday that I was going to talk to you, and she's like, he went 55 days, he didn't eat, where did he sleep, what did he do, like how is it possible? And I was thinking, like, you know what, that's actually a good question. I'm not quite sure. And I told her, like, I'm pretty sure he must have had some people following him around, or so how does it work?
Well, okay, so the way the whole project worked, it was basically 1,400 kilometers to circumnavigate Denmark. It took me 54 days from start to finish. The way the project worked was basically I just had it's very simple in a sense. Like I just had my Nash Maliko 14-foot board, 26 inches wide, loaded it up with some bungee straps and had these waterproof bags, one on the front and one on the back. And basically in those bags, I carried my whole life, which was a tent, sleeping bag, cooking stove, camera gear, extra underwear, all the essentials. But basically it was an expedition. So I was prepared to, just pitch my tent literally anywhere, and, cook my own food. And I brought what do you call it? Freeze-dried food. It's kind of like these military meals ready to eat that you just mix up with water. So full on expedition mode. And like I was pretty much self-sufficient, but that was not the purpose of this trip. The purpose was also to meet people. So some days I cooked my own, like pasta carbonara with, just adding water. Some days people welcomed me into their houses and, I had a warm meal. So it was kind of a mix of like an expedition and like, how do you say, like a project meeting other humans and being embraced in all kinds of ways.
Wow. So no car that followed along the coastline?
Well, there was a car, like sometimes my brother or my fiance, they joined me, but like they wouldn't carry my stuff for me. Like I was carrying all 30 kilos were with me. But then I also had the media team following me. So like, it wasn't, I would say like probably 30% of the time I had a team shadowing me along the day.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of days where it was just me, myself, and I, where I was paddling, big stretches without seeing anyone at all. So that was a cool mix.
Awesome. Well, I'm pretty sure it's getting pretty rugged, and there's not houses along the coast everywhere you go, and you just pull in and say, "Oh, I need this," or "Sorry, the weather must be like." I saw you were in a snowstorm at first, and then the weather was nice. So, was there times where you kind of like have to take unexpected weather breaks?
So in the beginning of the trip, you got to remember it was the beginning of April. And I launched this whole project as an April's 1st. And many people thought it was a joke, right? Yeah. But April in Denmark, basically, you don't know what you're going to get. It's like you're not going to have summer temperatures. Let's put it that way. But you don't know if you're going to have 20 degrees Celsius or you're going to have minus 20 degrees. Like you can really have that like you can have snowstorms and you can have sunshine. And basically within the first 5 days, I had everything from nice sunny weather to gale force winds, a snowstorm, and actually some nice weather. So it was, I hit some moments where I was really, really pushed to my limits and thinking, that feeling, what the fuck am I actually doing right now?
Oh, I can only imagine, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those things you set out. The moment you step foot on your board in Klitmøller, there's no other choice than coming back the other way, right?
Right.
You have to do it.
That was the idea, but like, of course, that's also why I did it. I mean, I've always been, I think my reason for doing it, and I'm still kind of reflecting on why. So, I mean, because I just did it, and I'm home now, and I've been through it, but I expected when I started that there would be a lot of challenge, and that's also the beauty of it, I think. But I didn't expect so much challenge. Like, I didn't expect to be in a snowstorm. I didn't expect to be chased down by thunderstorms. Didn't expect to be like, paddling in such rough conditions. But in a sense, that was what made the adventure so special. The adversity, the challenge, those days where you just don't want to get out of your sleeping bag because you're so fucking cold.
Amazing. And I was just going to say, this is not a tropical place. This is bone cold water as well. On another, did you set yourself a timeline, or were you just like, we'll see how long it takes?
Well, I mean, the thing for me was, like I've dreamt about circumnavigating Denmark for many years. It was like this past winter, I kind of started materializing in my mind. And, I've always been inspired by, guys like Bart Deswart and the British guys, Brendan and Jordan. And, there's so many expedition paddlers in the sport, and kind of forgot what your question was, but I think for me, the timeline. Yeah. So it was not about speed. Like, it wasn't about doing it as fast as possible. I didn't really find that interesting. For me, no one had done it before on a stand-up paddleboard. People have paddled around Denmark in kayaks and canoes, and people have sailed around Denmark. So it's like there's a strong tradition for doing it, but never on a stand-up paddleboard. And for me, I was more drawn by the fascination of like exploring, and it was with my own eyes and my own ears, with all my senses, like feeling Denmark. So I kind of said, like, I'm going to try to paddle 40 kilometers a day. That was my baseline.
Okay.
And then, take rest days whenever I needed or whenever the weather dictated, but I had no stress. So, when someone down at a random harbor came down and said, like, hey, do you want a beer? I was able to say yes. And, then all of a sudden you're listening to these crazy stories. And so, but yeah, I needed to make progress, but I didn't want to rush it.
What a great experience, just to experience your country, the people. So do you like to share some of the few highlights with us that are really like sticking out, that might, I mean, we could sit here all night, and you would have to, I would have to start opening some beers, and you would have to start, I don't know, it's what time is it in Maui? It's 8 o'clock here.
8 o'clock. No, I mean, some of the highlights was definitely, I mean, there was both the like nature highlights of, crossing the very tip of Denmark, where the oceans of Skagerrak and Kattegat meet each other. There was paddling through Copenhagen. There was the cliffs of Moon, traversing across. That was probably one of my highlights, actually, because if you look on a map, if you pull up a map, Denmark is not an island.
Yes.
We have a lot of islands, but the main peninsula of Jutland is a peninsula. So that was my favorite part, when I had to traverse, I think it was 90 kilometers across. I did it in a mixture of, I had built this wagon, or my fiance, actually, that's the correct term. She built the wagon for me, where I could tow my board. So I walked 45 kilometers, then I paddled in a creek for 45 kilometers. And that was just, I don't know, I could sit here and ramble for many hours, but it was just such a vivid experience to, be, after paddling 1,000 kilometers, suddenly you're walking like next to tractors and forests. There were so many strong moments where I got to experience nature, but I think the highlight for me actually was the people along the way. You know, meeting all these local people in small towns I didn't even know existed. You know, being invited home by the hunters that had just caught the deer and like were celebrating. From and so like another day I was paddling with this sup club on the East Coast. They had just like, you know, opened a new clubhouse. And of course, suddenly we were sitting in the sun after I'd paddled 50 kilometers or something. Like I'm sitting in the sun drinking rosé with this club of really enthusiastic paddlers. And I realized like, oh, this whole Great Danish paddle is turning into a party. That was almost.
That is so, I mean, I'm sorry, like I'm absolutely blown away by like what an experience, like, and the people like the people now to bring this a little bit into the present and so did the people know that you were doing this? So, and were they kind of like, or what the heck is with this guy coming down the coast, or how was, and evidently you have a big attention now. So how did that all build up? And
so it was kind of a, you know, some people knew I was doing this. Other people had no clue who I was or what I was doing, and that was almost the most fun part. But no, I have a really strong media team around me here in Denmark with especially my wingman Oli, who's done a great job at, you know, in the mainstream Danish press, at least, you know, kind of we shared the story that I was doing this also in the hope that people would join me along the way. And so we kind of had a dream of this being, you know, a social event.
Yeah.
And, you know, sharing the spirit of adventure, because I mean, I might be paddling around Denmark, but in another sense, this is just, I'm trying to highlight that there's actually really cool places to paddle in Denmark, and you can just pack your tent and, you know, bring a little bag with a sleeping bag, and, you know, you can have your own adventure. So it was fun, you know, in some places I was joined by, you know, I think there was one day there was like 50 paddlers alongside me. You know, we're just doing this together.
Cool.
So I'm just kind of rambling, and I totally forgot your question.
Well, no, you did. This is exactly what. And now you have arrived in Klitmøller. We saw how many people were celebrating your arrival, and we saw, of course, many posts and things. And yes, Ole did a great job sending out the PR. And now you must have a major media attention now with this.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm overwhelmed by, I mean, the support and the attention, both on my social media, which, you know, I've been updating my social media, but I've really actually been trying to stay away from it and not getting too caught up in it along the way. It's hard, but I tried to just post my captain's logs and then, you know, not look too much at it.
Yeah.
But the mainstream media in Denmark really, for some reason, embraced the project. And, you know, I think a lot of people that didn't even really have anything to do with water, like felt they were on an adventure with me. And that was super cool, like meeting people that came down to talk to me. And I mean, I think the highlight and the culmination of the trip was 2 days ago that was the day I landed. It's only 2 days ago that I actually finished this project. When I came back to Klitmøller and landed on my home beach down by the surf club, and there was like 200 or 300 people just lining the beach, nice. You know, screaming. And as I caught a wave in, like I came to tears because,
of course,
because why are all these people here? That was what went through my mind. Like, why do they want to spend their evening doing this? But it touched me.
Oh, I think it touched everybody, and even like, yeah, with the social media, I want to say from the perspective of a viewer, I think it was really cool to watch you progress around Denmark and watch your beard grow. Every time it got pretty long. Every time it's like a longer beard. But I think you made it for really interesting. Oh, Casper is there. Oh, now he's in a tent. Oh, now he's meeting this person, and he kind of made it a little bit of a mini documentary. So I think it was really cool. And of course, you forget it. Like, well, you have reception wherever you go nowadays. So it's kind of hard to hide, and you're always kind of like, you're still connected, which is on one hand a good thing, and on the other hand, of course, sometimes not such a good thing. But I think for us as viewers, it was just like, it was such a pleasure to follow you, Casper. It was, and just to see what you're doing is like, it's just like, it warms my heart. It really does. It's all.
I'm happy to hear that, Mike, because I felt a lot of times it was just me, you know, talking to my phone or GoPro. I was going insane. Like, I think that one of the next times I do a project like this, I want to go with another paddler, like, you know, someone that does it 100% with me as well. You know, so you do the expedition with someone. But I know I'm happy that the adventure was contagious, so to say. That you felt it.
So nice. And you're putting a good point there by being by yourself. And we talked about this. I think that was the last time I talked to you when you did the Skattegat crossing there with the foil, another insane thing. You with your thoughts by yourself a lot. And I'm sure that's the mental experience apart from the physical experience there. And I'm sure there's moments where you're like, asking yourself, what the heck am I doing? And was there a moment where you kind of had to push yourself to keep going?
I had a lot of days where I had to push myself. I had a lot of days, you know, if I let my thoughts wander too much, especially on the challenging days, I would start considering, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that's a very dangerous thought to have when you're in the middle of it. Like, it's not that it shouldn't exist, but I had to be so focused on, like, especially some of the days, say when I had to navigate tidal currents. If I lost my focus, I would end up in a really shitty situation. So that whole thing about why I'm doing it, it's actually only now that I'm really coming to grips with it. And I think the simple reason of you know, the conclusion that I've reached is the same as Bart, as he famously said after the Yukon one year, was because the food tastes better. And you know that, like,
I remember that quote.
That was such, I think it was in Chris Parker's movie. You know, he just said,
I remember that quote.
It's so strong, because I think, that summarizes, you know, just that feeling of being alive, and you know, pain and challenge and also suffering is a contrast to feeling, or it makes you feel.
Yeah. Wow. I you know what, I think I don't want to keep you too long, but this is like absolutely amazing. Just last real quick, future wise, of course, I'm thinking, I just had this thought that I have the feeling that there's going to be a lot of public speaking in your future coming up, and like life coaching, because an experience like this can help also a lot of other people in the corporate world, and maybe people that are struggling with certain things. So I think there's a lot of positivity come out of this. From another curiosity point of view, of course, we see a lot of you doing this kind of things. We see your Midsummer Vikings, which is also an absolute great event that I'm looking forward to hopefully get a lot of content and cover that. And then, of course, we're wondering a little bit, Casper, as an athlete, where's the journey going? Is it Casper going to be the expedition adventurer, or is it Casper going to be a racer, or where is Casper thinking, or is it too early of a question?
It's no, it's a fair question. I just don't think I can give you an answer, actually. You know, there's part of me that, you know, I guess I've been a professional in the world of stand-up paddling, I mean, since 2012 or so. So it's like, it's a decade now that I've been going full speed. I think I'm in no way done with paddling, but this whole expedition has kind of reaffirmed to me that, man, stand-up paddling, and I mean specifically stand-up paddling, not everything else with winging and foiling. Like, stand-up paddling has so much potential in itself as a vessel for adventure. And I think that's what I kind of just opened my eyes for. Like, you know, it's like people pack their bike and go across a continent. Like, and there's so many places I kind of now think like, oh, I want to bring my tent and my sleeping bag and go paddle there. So
awesome.
Basically, to summarize, I think I have definitely opened my eyes, and I hope I can help open other people's eyes for stand-up paddling to be more than just paddling fast on a board in a race context. There's such a beautiful world out there to see. If I will be racing this year, again, I don't know. My body is definitely not in good racing shape right now.
I don't blame you.
I don't think I can even call myself a sprinter anymore, because I feel more like a 1980s diesel VW van than a Formula One car.
And
But
an 80
hey,
kilometer long distance race will for you be now, oh, that's short distance. What's an
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
and a half on a long distance race? That's peanuts.
it's peanuts, totally. So I don't know, like I still love,
That's awesome.
like I've really enjoyed watching races and like listening to results, you know, from some of the races that happened while I was paddling. So I still love the competitive aspect, but we'll see. I think I need a little break, and then I'll see what type of hunger I have.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Casper. Guys, I enjoyed this a lot, and I hope so did you. Thank you, Casper. It was an honor, and what a great experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.